Hi everyone, so this video is going to go through questions 1 to I think 7, 1 to 7 on, it is June 2018 and it is paper 5, which is no calculator. So first of all, question 1, we've got 3/5 plus 5/8. So the first thing when you're adding or subtracting fractions is to make the bottom number the same. So 5 and 8 both go into 40. So this one has been times by 8. So we need to do the same to the top and times that by 8. And then this one has been times by 5. So I'm going to do the same to the top and times that by 5. So it's going to make 49 over 40. So we then need to write this as a mixed number. So to do that, we see how many 40s go into 49. So that would be once. But that would have a remainder of 9 left over. So the 9 goes on the top and then you keep the bottom number the same. So it's 1 and 9 over 40. Part B, so adding or subtracting in standard form, you need to make sure you work out the numbers as ordinary numbers, work out what the calculation is, and then you'll put your answer back into standard form. So 5 times 10 to the 4 is 5 with 4 zeros after it. And 1.6 times 10 to the 3, if we move that 3 to the right, it's going to go 1, 2, 3. So that is 1,600. So we need to do 50,000 minus 1,600. Well, 50,000 minus 1,000 is 49,000. Minus another 600 is 48,400. So we must make sure that we put this back into standard form. So it needs to be between 1 and 10, so my point needs to go here. So it would be 4.84, and then times 10, and then I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to the end, so it would be times 10 to the power of 4. Question 2. So these kind of questions seem to come up quite a lot actually, where you are given a solution and you've got to say, is it correct? So the first thing I would do, rather than worry too much about what she has done, I would just try and solve this inequality. So if the question was solve 3x plus 1 is greater than minus 5, you would put your lines down like that, and we're trying to work out what x is. So the first thing is to get rid of plus 1, and to do that I would minus 1. So you're going to get 3x is bigger than, and minus 5 take away 1 is minus 6. So then to get rid of the 3, we're going to divide by 3. So when I divide by 3, I just get x, and minus 6 divided by 3 is minus 2. So we should have that x is bigger than minus 2. Now when we look at what Gemma's done here, her arrow is going to the left, and so therefore it's going in the wrong direction, because these numbers are all actually smaller than minus 2, and we want them to be bigger than minus 2. So although she's got the circle in the right place, the arrow should be going to the right. So in terms of what you would say here, I would say something like x is bigger than minus 2, therefore the arrow should be pointing to the right and not to the left, as this would be x is less than minus 2. So that is question 2. Question 3, we go on to vectors. So with vectors, when you are adding them, you just add the tops and you add the bottoms. So it should be nice and easy. Minus 3 plus 5 is 2. And 2 plus 7 is 9. So it would be 2, 9. So that is only 1 mark, and that's just because it's just basically adding those numbers up. The next one then is a couple of marks now. So we've got 3, 4, minus 2, lots of 1, minus 3. So the first thing I would do is times everything in this vector by the 2 outside. So 1 times 2 is 2. And minus 3 times 2 is minus 6. So now I'm going to subtract these, because this time we've got a minus here. So 3 minus 2 is 1. 4 minus minus 6, well, minus and minus is like adding, so it's like 4 plus 6, which makes 10. So it should be 110. Question 4. So she's saying that there is more than 90% of the serving is carbohydrates. Now, one way that you might start to approach this is to work out the percentage that is carbohydrates and then see if it's more than 90. Now, if you're trying to work out what 99.4 is as a percentage of 110, obviously with a calculator, you could do 99.4 divided by 110 times 100. However, that's not particularly nice to do on a non-calculator paper, which is what this is. So what I would do is actually work out 90% of 110 and then just compare this to that answer and see whether it's more than it or less than it. So to work out 90% of 110, so that is what we're trying to achieve. So 90% of 110. So I would work out 10% by dividing this by 10, which would give me 11. So therefore 90% is going to be, you have to times that by 9. You need 9 lots of 10% to make 90%. So you would times that by 9 as well to get 99. So it's saying that there's 99.4 grams of carbohydrates. 90% is actually only 99, so it is a little bit bigger. So she is correct. Explain your reasoning. So I would say she is correct. 90% of 110 is 99. 99.4 is larger than this, therefore she is correct. So that is question 4. Okay, question 5. So keywords in this: relative frequencies are just probabilities as a result of an experiment or observations that somebody has made. So this is to do with the results of a football team after a number of games. So these are just probabilities, and probabilities should be adding up to 1. So to work out this missing value here, I would do 0.2 plus 0.45, which makes 0.65, and then I would take that away from 1, and that gives us 0.35. So this should be adding up to 1 whole one. Part B, the team lost 10 more games than they won. How many games did the team play altogether? So if they lost 10 more games than they won, let's look at the table and see how many more, in terms of the probabilities, how many more they lost than they won. So 0.45 minus 0.2 is 0.25, which is a quarter. So it basically means a quarter of the games must be equal to 10. So 1/4 of the games must be equal to 10. So in order to work out how many games there were, I know that 4 quarters makes a whole one. So I would need to do 4 lots of 10 to work out then what a whole one would be. So 4 times 10 is 40. So it must mean then that they played 40 games in total. Right, question 6. This kind of question often goes wrong. So the reason it goes wrong is because people will read this and they think, oh, it's 15% more in March, so therefore just take 15% off to get back to what it was in February. But remember that they would have started with the number of texts in February. They would have added on 15% to get 460 in March. So you cannot work out 15% of this and take it off, because 15% of that is going to be different to 15% of what it was in February. So the way to kind of approach this question really is to say, well, originally it would have been 100% to start with. If they've added 15% on, or we sent 15% more in March, that's going to make 115%. So 460 is equal to 115%. And I'm trying to work out the original 100% back in February. So how you then approach that is really up to you. I would always try and see if we can work out 1%. So to work out 1%, you would divide by this number here. So I would divide it by 115. Now, sometimes it might be that you can't always do that and you need an alternative way. So we'll have a look at that in a second. But in this case, I can divide by 115. If I double that, for example, I get 230. And then if I double that again, I would get 460. So when you divide 460 by 115, it goes in exactly 4 times. And so therefore, to work out the 1%, sorry, the 100%. I now need to times that by 100. So I'm going to do the same to this and times by 100. So when I do that, I get 400. So the question is actually saying, how many more texts did Jack send in March than in February? So remember, we would need to do 460 minus the 400 to see how many more there were. And so there would be 60 more texts sent for that one. So I do just want to very quickly say, say if it was a 20%, say that somebody was earning some money each month and it gets reduced by 20% and they now earn, let's say, £120 per week. And we've got to work out what it was before the reduction. So again, what you can't do is work out 20% and add it on. So if it's being reduced by 20%, this is now 80%. So you would say 80% is 120. Now, to work out 1% here, 120 divided by 80 isn't particularly nice to do without a calculator. I'm sure some of you might be able to give that a good go. But it's not as nice as the other one. So what I would do here, if it doesn't divide nicely, try and work out, you're always trying to find a way to make 100%. So, for example, if I halved it here, I could work out 40% would be half of that, which is 60. There's no way to make 100 out of these two, but if I half it again, half of that is 20, so half of that is going to be 30. So I now know that 80% is 120, 20% is 30, and so I can add those together to get then 100%, which would be 150. So it's always just worth remembering, you're trying to work out the 100%. If you can't do it as a division like this one, then try and work out other percentages and find a way then to make them add up to 100. So the final question for this video is this one here. This is a 6-mark question, so there's quite a lot of steps to do with this one. Again, it's one of these questions where you shouldn't be writing nothing down. You cannot afford to lose all 6 marks. So it's worth trying to write down as much as you can. So the first thing I noticed with this is that the measurements for this are in meters, whereas this one here are in centimeters. So what I would do is change this into centimeters. Like that, and we know the tiles are measuring 50 by 50. So if we're going 50 by 50, you need to see how many 50s you can fit in this direction. So 300 divided by 50 is 6. So I could fit 6 tiles going up in this direction because 6 50s would make 300. This way, again, they're 50 by 50, so 50s into 450. Well, I know that 5 times 9 is 45, so 50 into 450 would also be 9. So therefore, to work out the number of tiles, I would just do 6 times 9, which is 54. So you're going to need 54 tiles. Now, there are other ways you could have worked that out. You might have worked out the area and then divided it by the area of one of the tiles, but you still should get 54 tiles. And I think that's the easiest way to do that question without a calculator. So we need 54 tiles. They're sold in packs of 10. So 50 tiles wouldn't be enough. I would need to buy enough for 60 tiles, which would mean 6 packs. And they cost £20 each. So that would be 6 lots of 20. So that's going to make £120. Now Tim pays for fitting at a rate of £7.50 per square metre, with any fraction of a square metre rounded up. So I need to work out how many square metres this area is. So to do that, I would do 3 times 4.5. I'm using the metre measurements here because the fitting rate is per square metre, so therefore I want to work in metres. So to do something like that without a calculator, I would do 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times the 0.5 is 1.5. So if I add those, I get 13.5. Now he's going to round any other fraction up, so it wouldn't be 13.5, that would actually round up to 14. So if it's £7.50 per square metre, I would need to do 14 times £7.50. And again, to do something like that, I would probably do the 14 times the 7 and then the 14 times the 50p or the 0.5. So 14 times 7, 4 times 7 is 28, 1 times 7 is 7, plus the 2 is 9. So that's going to be 98. And then I need to do 14 times 0.5. And that's going to just be times by a half, so that is just 7. So if I do 98 plus 7, the total of the fitting would be 105. But I've also got, remember, the cost of the tiles. So I need to do 120 plus 105. And so then it makes £225. So that should be the final answer, £225.